My friends, listen carefully. Everything you see around you right now, the seat you're sitting on, the building that shelters you, the system that governs you, all of it was once invisible. It began as a thought, then became a word, and only after that, it became a world. Creation did not begin with movement, it began with a mouth. The universe you and I inhabit was not constructed by hands, it was commanded by speech. And God said, and it was so. That, my friends, is not just theology, that is technology. The greatest creative force in existence is not in your wallet, not in your muscles, not even in your connections. It is in your mouth. Words are spiritual construction material. Every sentence you speak is a brick in the house of your future. You are sitting today in the middle of yesterday's conversations. What you kept saying yesterday is what you're living in today. Your words have already gone ahead of you to prepare your environment. They are builders. They are architects. The only question is, what kind of world are they building for you? So from today forward, don't speak as a reporter of your life. Speak as the architect of your life. You are not here to narrate circumstances. You are here to legislate change. And if you will align your tongue with truth, your environment will align with you. So the greatest miracle you can perform every morning is not outside of you. It begins when you open your mouth and give instruction to your day. That's why I tell people, never begin a day until you have spoken to it. Don't wait for life to tell you what it will be. Tell life what it must become. You were not created to echo circumstances. You were created to announce possibilities. Your words are the seeds of the invisible. They carry DNA. They contain instruction. That's why your language must match your vision. You cannot speak defeat and expect victory. You cannot rehearse fear and expect faith. You cannot curse your soil and expect a harvest. So today, before we go any further, I want you to grasp this truth deep in your spirit. Words build worlds. The life you desire is already waiting for your vocabulary to catch up. Let me give you an example. Before a building exists, the architect must first imagine it. Then he must speak it into drawings and details. Those drawings become blueprints, and those blueprints command the builders. Your words are the blueprints of your destiny. If your blueprint is small, your life will never be large. If your blueprint is confused, your life will be chaotic. If your blueprint is precise, your life will have purpose. That's where we begin, with the mouth that shapes matter. That's why in the next section, we will go deeper into understanding the law of words. My friends, hear me carefully. You do not live by what you wish, you live by what you say. There is a law that governs every human being, whether they believe it or not, the law of words. This law is older than governments, stronger than traditions, and it works for everyone who understands it. The law of words simply says this: your life moves in the direction of your most dominant declarations. Your words are the engine of your existence. They are not random sounds. They are spiritual forces, containers of creative energy. Let me remind you of something powerful. Words never die. Once spoken, they travel, they plant, they multiply. The Bible says death and life are in the power of the tongue. Think about that. It did not say death and life are in the economy. It did not say death and life are in your education. It says they are in your tongue. That means your mouth can build a nation or destroy one. When you understand the law of words, you stop talking carelessly. You stop calling yourself stupid when you make a mistake. You stop saying, I'm always broke, or nothing ever works for me. Because those aren't jokes. Those are judgments. Every time you speak, you are issuing a decree, either for your progress or for your prison. Listen carefully. Your tongue is your signature on your destiny. Every morning you sign something, you sign success or you sign struggle. The law of words makes no exceptions. Even silence is a form of speech because it agrees with what you tolerate. You see, what you think becomes what you say. What you say becomes what you believe. What you believe becomes what you behave. And what you behave becomes what you become. So when people ask me, Dr. Munroe, how can I change my life? I tell them, change your conversation. Your mouth is the thermostat of your mind. A thermostat doesn't describe temperature. It decides it. You don't use it to report the weather. You use it to regulate the atmosphere. In the same way, stop describing how bad things are and start declaring how good they will become. That's not denial, that's dominion. So from today forward, don't speak as a reporter of your life. Speak as the architect of your life. You are not here to narrate circumstances. You are here to legislate change. And if you will align your tongue with truth, your environment will align with you. This is why, in the next segment, we must look deeper at the pattern behind creation itself. How the creative pattern of speech reveals that what God did at the beginning, He expects you to continue on earth. Your mouth is the thermostat of your mind. A thermostat doesn't describe temperature. It decides it. You don't use it to report the weather. You use it to regulate the atmosphere. In the same way, stop describing how bad things are and start declaring how good they will become. That's not denial, that's dominion. You and I were made in that same image, not in the image of God's face, but in the image of His function. That means you were designed to create by decree. Creation is not a miracle for you to admire, it is a model for you to apply. If your Father rules by words, then so must you. My friends, everything God ever made, He made by saying something. Not one tree, not one river, not one mountain was built by His hands. It was all built by His words. The pattern is clear. And God said, and it was. That's the creative formula for the universe. God thought it, God spoke it, and it became. When you open your mouth, you are holding a steering wheel. Every declaration, every complaint, every whisper moves the vehicle of your life in a direction forward, backward, upward, or downward. You are either constructing destiny or reinforcing limitation. The mouth, then, is not just for communication, it is for creation. When you speak, you're not merely talking, you're transmitting power. That's why the wisest man said, by your words you are justified, and by your words you are condemned. You're never neutral. When you speak, your words are always constructing or collapsing something. Every builder knows that before you construct a wall, you must lay a foundation. Words are the foundation of reality. Before you can see it, you must say it. Before you can touch it, you must talk it. Before it becomes visible, it must become verbal. Now, don't misunderstand me. I'm not talking about empty phrases or wishful chanting. I'm talking about alignment, the agreement between what God has declared and what you declare. Faith is not repeating positive slogans. Faith is speaking divine truth until the natural world submits. That's why Jesus said, you will have whatever you say. So, your responsibility is to think as your Creator thinks, to speak as your Creator speaks, and to expect as your Creator expects. Every time you open your mouth in faith, you are continuing Genesis on earth. Creation is not finished. It's waiting for you to participate. The creative pattern is not just divine history, it is human destiny. That is the pattern we are meant to master. But before we can use it effectively, we must understand what keeps most people from ever speaking with such power. So in our next session, we will expose that secret. why most people speak defeat. My friends, let me tell you the truth with love. Most people never see change because they never change their conversation. They talk themselves out of their own destiny. They have learned to use their mouths against their future. They say, I can't. They say, it's too hard. They say, people like me never make it. And they don't even know those words are planting weeds in the garden of their mind. They have been programmed by cultures of complaint, by families that feared failure, by teachers who measured worth by grades instead of greatness. They inherited a defeated vocabulary, and you can never live above the language you inherit until you rewrite it. You see, you cannot build a victorious life with the bricks of negative speech. Your mouth is meant to construct, not to complain. But people have become fluent in limitation. They have mastered the language of lack. When something goes wrong, they immediately prophesy disaster. They are rehearsing defeat, not resisting it. Here's what happens. When the mind is filled with fear, the tongue becomes its loudspeaker. Out of the abundance of the heart, the mouth speaks. If the heart is full of insecurity, the mouth will echo it. If the mind is full of doubt, the tongue will advertise it. And when you continually speak weakness, your environment begins to cooperate with your confession. Let me tell you something vital. You can't develop a champion's vocabulary inside a slave mentality. If you keep talking like a victim, you'll never act like a victor. A weak mind demands pity. A strong mind declares possibility. So the first battle of success is not in your circumstances, it's in your sentences. Some of you have been asking God to bless what your own words are cursing. You say, Lord, enlarge my territory, but in the same breath, you whisper, I'm not qualified. Those two sentences cancel each other out. You cannot request growth and rehearse failure at the same time. You must choose one. Life and death are in the tongue. Stop speaking both. So from today, decide that your mouth will no longer cooperate with mediocrity. Refuse to let your speech be rendered by fear. If you cannot yet speak victory with confidence, then stay silent until faith returns. Better to say nothing than to sabotage your own seed. This is why we must now examine the engine behind every word you speak, the hidden connection between your thoughts and your tongue. Because your speech is not born in your mouth, it is conceived in your mind. In the next section, we'll uncover that mystery in the mind-mouth connection. My friends, the most dangerous distance in your life is not the gap between you and success. It is the gap between your mind and your mouth. What your mind believes, your mouth will eventually reveal. And what your mouth releases, your life will soon reflect. The mind and the mouth are partners in creation. The mouth does not have authority of its own. It borrows conviction from the mind. That means every word you speak is first a thought you rehearsed. Nothing leaves your lips that didn't first live in your head. So if you want to fix your mouth, you must first renew your mind. That's why the Bible says, be transformed by the renewing of your mind. Not your job, not your location, your mind. Because transformation is always mental before it becomes material. You cannot speak new words from an old mindset. The tongue is merely the instrument. The mind is the musician. If the musician is out of tune, the sound will always be off key. Let me explain something to you. Every time you think, you are programming your inner world. Every time you speak, you are broadcasting that program into your outer world. Thought is internal construction. Speech is external manifestation. When those two agree, power is released. But when they conflict, when the mind doubts what the mouth declares, your words lose authority. That's why some people pray loudly but live weakly. Their mouth says, I believe, but their mind whispers, I'm not sure. And heaven does not respond to noise. It responds to knowing. Faith is not volume. Faith is alignment between thought and tongue. Let me give you a simple formula. Think, say, hear, believe, become. What you think, you will eventually say. What you say, you will eventually hear. What you hear repeatedly, you will believe. And what you believe, you will inevitably become. So if you want to change who you're becoming, change what you're hearing. And if you want to change what you're hearing, change what you're saying. This is the divine feedback loop of destiny. When I was a young man, I learned to catch my thoughts before they escaped my mouth. If a thought of fear came, I answered it with faith. If a thought of lack came, I replied with abundance. I realized that silence is agreement, so I refused to be silent when my mind tried to limit me. I began to train my mind like a soldier and my mouth like a sword. You must do the same, because the mind is the soil and the mouth is the seed sower. Whatever you plant with words will grow from the thoughts you've nurtured. That's why your daily responsibility is to cultivate a mental garden so pure that everything your mouth releases carries life. In the next section, we'll look at how this creative force doesn't just shape your personal life, it builds entire dimensions of existence. We're going to explore the 5 realms your words create. My friends, the power of speech doesn't just build houses and careers, it builds realms. Every time you open your mouth, you expand or shrink one of 5 dimensions of your life. I call them the realms your words create. 1. The identity realm, who you believe you are. Every sentence beginning with I am is a prophecy. When you say I am tired, your body listens. When you say I am strong, your spirit responds. I am is not grammar, it is creation. God introduced himself with those words. I am that I am. So when you say I am, you are borrowing his creative authority. Never attach weakness to divine vocabulary. Stop saying I am nothing. Say I am purpose in motion. Speak identity before reality catches up, because identity always precedes manifestation. 2, the possibility realm. What you allow yourself to attempt, your words draw the borders of your imagination. People who say that's impossible have already built walls around their own potential. But those who dare to say why not unlock innovation. The world doesn't change because of resources, it changes because of rhetoric. The Wright brothers talked about flying before they touched a plane. Martin Luther King spoke about freedom before he saw it. Faith talks future while standing in the present. Every I can you speak expands the territory of what's possible. 3, the relationship realm, the atmosphere you create around others. Words are bridges or barriers. You can heal with a sentence or wound with a syllable. Some marriages die not from hatred, but from neglect of kind speech. Some teams collapse because leaders criticize publicly and encourage privately. The order is reversed. Your words are invitations. They tell others whether it's safe to be near you. Speak honor and you'll attract honor. Speak bitterness and you'll live surrounded by broken spirits. Choose to be the voice that builds, not the echo that breaks. 4, the faith realm, turning belief into substance. Faith without confession is daydreaming. It's not enough to believe silently. You must give your faith a voice. When you declare what God has promised, you authorize heaven to perform it. That's why Jesus spoke to storms, to sickness, to death itself. He never negotiated with conditions. He commanded them. Your mountains don't move because you admire their size. They move because you address them by name. Stop telling God about your problems. Start telling your problems about your God. 5. The legacy realm. What outlives your lifetime? Long after your body rests, your words keep walking the earth. Every principle you teach, every encouragement you give, every decree you make becomes a seed in someone else's soul. That's legacy. People may forget your face, but they will quote your phrases. Speak as though generations are listening, because they are. Every great leader leaves language behind. The future is shaped not only by inventions, but by vocabulary. Nations rise on ideas first spoken by courageous voices. My friends, these are the 5 realms shaped by your tongue: identity, possibility, relationship, faith, and legacy. When you master your speech, you manage your dimensions. If you guard your words, you govern your world. Now that you see the territories your voice creates, the question is, how do you train that voice to build consistently? In the next section, we'll uncover the process training your tongue for transformation. My friends, revelation without regulation leads to frustration. It's not enough to know that words build worlds. You must now train your tongue to build the right one. The untrained tongue will always betray your destiny. A wild mouth will destroy a wise mind. So discipline must enter where emotion once ruled. Listen carefully. Transformation does not begin in miracles. It begins in management. You must manage your mouth before you can master your mission. That's why James said, if any man can control his tongue, he is a perfect man. Think of that. Perfection is not measured by talent or title, but by speech. Let me give you 5 steps laws of the disciplined mouth. Step 1, silence the negative for 7 days. Make your mouth a sanctuary. Fast from complaint. Refuse to speak about what you fear, what you lack, or what others have done wrong. You'll be shocked how much energy you save when you stop fueling defeat. Some of you will discover you've been arguing for your limitations more than you've been praying for your liberation. Step 2, replace reaction with response. A disciplined mouth doesn't speak from emotion. It speaks from principle. When people offend you, don't give them your opinion, give them your peace. When situations provoke you, pause and ask, what truth should I release right now? This is spiritual maturity to control your tongue when your temper wants to take over. Step 3, schedule your speech. Purposeful people plan their words. Every morning, declare what your day must obey. Every night, close with thanksgiving, not regret. Set a verbal rhythm that aligns your tongue with your goals. You cannot live randomly and speak intentionally. The two must agree. Your day must begin with decree and end with gratitude. Step 4, record and replay your own voice. When you hear yourself speak faith, your subconscious learns to believe it. Faith comes by hearing even your own voice. Record your declarations. Play them while you drive, while you work, while you rest. Train your environment to echo your assignment. Let your words become the soundtrack of your transformation. Step 5, pair declaration with discipline. Never speak what you're not willing to act on. Confession without commitment is empty. When you say, I am disciplined, wake up early and prove it. When you declare, I am a leader, start serving someone. Words are seeds, but action is water. Without both, nothing grows. If you do these 5 things consistently, your speech will graduate from reaction to revelation. You no longer talk about change, you speak as change itself. The disciplined tongue becomes the steering wheel of destiny. It keeps you stable when storms try to shift your course. So now that your tongue is trained, it's time to use it. In the next section, We will activate what you've learned, not theory, but practice. Get ready for section 8, 50 power declarations. My friends, you've trained your tongue, now it's time to use it. This is not poetry. This is not performance. This is creation in progress. As we speak these words, we are building realities. Every line is a brick. Every phrase is a prophecy. I want you to say these words with conviction, not curiosity, because you are about to talk your life into alignment with purpose. So now that your tongue is trained, it's time to use it. In the next section, we will activate what you've learned, not theory, but practice. Get ready for section 8, 50 power declarations. A, identity declarations. 10. Repeat after me. I am not what happened to me. I am what was designed in me. I am purpose in motion. I am disciplined, determined, and divinely directed. I am not a mistake. I am a masterpiece under construction. I am a solution waiting to be discovered. I am becoming all that was spoken over me before I was born. I am bigger than my background and stronger than my struggle. I am the evidence that purpose still works. I am peace in the middle of pressure. I am exactly who God said I am. Nothing less, nothing more. Theirs. When you speak identity, confusion begins to lose its grip. You stop asking, who am I? And start declaring, here I am. B, discipline declarations. 10. Say it with me. I do hard things with joy. I finish what I start. I make decisions based on destiny, not distraction. I control my emotions. They do not control me. I am faithful in small things and trustworthy with big things. I turn excuses into execution. I move even when motivation fades. I am faithful in small things and trustworthy with big things. I keep promises to myself. I am consistent, committed, and courageous. Pause. Discipline is the bridge between what you say and what you see. Every act of consistency is a declaration with legs. C, vision and work declarations. 10. Now, speak to your purpose. You must do the same. Because the mind is the soil and the mouth is the seed sower. Whatever you plant with words will grow from the thoughts you've nurtured. That's why your daily responsibility is to cultivate a mental garden so pure that everything your mouth releases carries life. My ideas solve problems others ignore. My work is worship, and my excellence is evidence. I attract divine opportunities because I serve with integrity. I am trusted because I deliver. I think creatively and act courageously. I don't wait for permission to begin. I begin, and permission follows. I create value wherever I am planted. I am not chasing success. Success is following my service. My gift will make room for me, and I am ready for the room. I don't wait for permission to begin. I begin, and permission follows. D, relationships and peace declarations. 10. Let's build harmony around us. I give honor freely and receive love wisely. I choose peace over pride. I forgive quickly so I can move freely. I speak life into others because life multiplies when shared. I surround myself with thinkers, builders, and believers. I am not jealous of success. I celebrate it. I am not defined by rejection. I am refined by it. I don't chase people. I attract those aligned with purpose. My peace is my protection. Everywhere I go, I carry calm authority. I don't chase people. I attract those aligned with purpose. I am not defined by rejection. I am refined by it. Now let's speak beyond ourselves. My life is a message that will outlive my years. I plant principles that generations will harvest. I am a river, not a reservoir. I pour out what I learn. My influence multiplies because I serve, not because I seek. I am a builder of people, not just projects. My children and those I mentor will think higher because I spoke higher. My children and those I mentor will think higher because I spoke higher. My children and those I mentor will think higher because I spoke higher. My children and those I mentor will think higher because I spoke higher. I am a builder of people, not just projects. My children and those I mentor will think higher because I spoke higher. I am a builder of people, not just projects. I am a builder of people, not just projects. My legacy will be integrity and impact. My friends, it is one thing to speak the truth, it is another to live it. Speech without standard is self-deception. You cannot confess greatness in public and then contradict it in private. Your words are not decorations for your mouth. They are directions for your life. You see, the power of speaking is not in performance, it's in alignment. When your words, your thoughts, and your actions walk together, creation responds. Heaven does not bless noise, it blesses agreement. Your tongue sets the direction. Your mind sets the intention. And your hands must set the manifestation. So live what you speak. Let your home hear consistency in your voice. Let your co-workers see integrity in your steps. Let your enemies witness peace when they expected anger. That's how spoken truth becomes visible testimony. So live what you speak. Let your home hear consistency in your voice. Let your co-workers see integrity in your steps. Let your enemies witness peace when they expected anger. That's how spoken truth becomes visible testimony. Your confession is the blueprint, but your consistency is the builder. Your faith releases potential, but your discipline reveals character. And character is what keeps the world you build from collapsing under success. So as we conclude this journey, speak it until you become it, remember this final truth. The greatest sermon you will ever preach is not from your lips, it is from your life. Let your daily actions echo the declarations of your mouth. Let your choices confirm your confession. And may your existence become the living proof that words still build worlds. You see, the power of speaking is not in performance, it's in alignment. When your words, your thoughts, and your actions walk together, creation responds. Heaven does not bless noise, it blesses agreement. Your tongue sets the direction. Your mind sets the intention. And your hands must set the manifestation.